Real Talk is proudly sponsored by Huawei P20 Pro and MTN.
Each week for 10 weeks, we're giving away the latest Huawei P20 Pro and 10 gigabytes once-off MTN data to 10 amazing storytellers. All you have to do is share your special moments with us. Follow at Huawei ZA and at MTN ZA and tag us with hashtag Huawei P20 and hashtag Real Talk Moments. We want to see and hear your stories and create lasting connections across the country. Each week there's a different theme, so keep checking our social pages for details and you could be a winner.
Good evening and welcome to Real Talk with me, Azania Mosaka. You know, depression is one of the leading causes of suicides in our country. In South Africa, 10 out of 1,000 people suffer from depression, and this illness is often misunderstood and bears a lot of misconceptions. My guests this evening are here to share their experiences with the seething illness and hopefully educate you and I on this subject. And we start with author of 21 Days of Hell, a book detailing a lifelong history with depression. Tshepo joins me now on the couch to share her story. Tshepo, welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
This phenomenal book that we've got here gives an incredible account of your life story.
Yes.
And your battles with depression.
Yes.
Just take me through what's encapsulated in the book.
At the beginning, I start talking about my life. I want to give you a background regarding the intellectual part of it. Mm-hmm. Intellectual and intelligence comes with a price. And I had to carry a very hefty price being intelligent.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the day, they say, okay, she's gone crazy because she's reading too much, mm-hmm. and she carries position 1 right through high school, right through school. And you know, when you're intelligent, people tend to think, okay, they expect the best of you. Right. And the pressure mounts from the family, from the community, right through. Mm-hmm. Now that's where my childhood history comes in. And then as I grow older, I lose half my family members.
Wow.
In a very traumatic way.
In a short space of time?
In a short space of time, ranging from my mother, my father, my sister, and then my matriarch, who was my grandmother.
Yeah. So
with me, it was both. The risk factors was depression, mm-hmm. And then there was this spiritual element as well, because my grandmother was a spiritual prophet from St. John's.
Okay.
And she had and passed on this gift unto me. So when I saw the YTs who were there to diagnose me, they said, at first it was, she's got depression.
Yeah.
Okay, depression, I'll take medication, no problem, because things considered, I've been through hell. I've been through the most.
Yeah, so why not try
this?
Why
not try this?
Yeah.
And I am putting the spirituality at the back. Mm-hmm. And I'm in denial. Mm-hmm. I'm an air hostess, for crying out loud. Mm-hmm. I'm wearing manicures.
You're
I'm
traveling the world.
You understand?
Yeah.
There is no time to be healing nobody. There's no time to be praying for nobody. There's no time to be doing what my grandmother used to do.
So you put it to the back.
It's so belief. That was not me. So you understand now there's two battles. It's this reality and that.
So did you eventually go for your initiation?
The initiation, you must understand with me, I was born with it.
Yeah.
So the trial and turbulences, as I grew older, I learned that that was my initiation process, mm-hmm. with everything that I saw live. But then with the whiteys, they'll say you've got delusions of grandeur. Mm-hmm. Delusions of what? Okay. Delusions of grandeur. And I look up, I'm an intellectual person, most.
Wabala.
Yeah. Guaranteed. When I find that out, but it's somebody that thinks highly of themselves, they think they've achieved this and that and that.
Okay.
Then I tell them, but no, I have achieved all of this. I am an author. I've been in the media. I'm a high flyer. And when I start talking about delusions of grandeur,
Is that how you were institutionalized? What
Yes.
led to you
With me being institutionalized
for
is
those 21
that now
days?
I was starting to see visions. Remember, there's a battle between the spiritual world and what I'm going through spiritually and mentally.
So was the mental condition that was diagnosed as depression? Let's keep the two separate
yeah, at
and
the
stay
beginning.
within this lane. And I understand that there's a confluence.
Yes.
They do speak to one another. There could be a misdiagnosis from either end about what's going on with you.
Guaranteed.
Yeah.
From childhood, I was told I've got a gift, I've got a
Yes,
calling.
yes, yes.
And there was no grief. No, everybody was still alive and kicking. It was nice.
You had support.
I had support. And then my mom passed on. I still had my dad. And then my dad passed on. He was murdered.
Wow.
And then ultimately,
Is that what triggered it? All the
Yes.
grief?
all the grief. The risk factor with me was the grief. And I'd like to say that I have given the Western medicine an opportunity to say, all right, guaranteed it's possible that I could be suffering from all that because I haven't dealt with it. And I have gone for therapy.
Right.
And 17 years later, my dad passed on 17 years ago. But I would still cry like he passed on yesterday.
How did it feel? What does it feel like to be in the grips of a depressive episode?
You're in the darkest place ever. You just want to exit. The world is not ready for you
Are you saying suicide?
in the best ways ever. And you think...
Did you ever attempt suicide?
4 times.
And all of them
4 times.
failed?
Yes. I tried.
And you're the mother of 2 children.
Yes. At the time, you're thinking, these people don't even know what I'm going through.
Yeah.
They're expecting me to snap out of it. You must remember that when you've had it all, all of a sudden everything is just gone. Everything is just gone. How do you cope?
Yeah.
And I'm on the tip of saying, you know, let everybody see for themselves. I'm done. I can't deal with this anymore. I'm done.
So being institutionalized 4 times, was there a particular issue that just wasn't being attended to? Because one would assume that, or we think, or we hold these misconceptions that once you get help, that's it, you've gotten the help.
You're good to
snap,
go.
move. You're good to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At the beginning, it was depression, and then they gave me medication which gave me the worst side effects under the sun. I was scared to be awake, I was scared to be asleep, anxiety, panic attacks, the whole 9
Your
years.
visions, yeah.
Yes. And then they changed the medication. And the sad thing is that my life, valuable as it is, was placed in a student doctor's hands, who then prescribed the first medication. And that was lethal for me. It wasn't conducive for my particular condition.
Right.
And that's when I thought, I'm leaving. I might as well just die. Until I went to the doctor to say, I can't deal with this. I'm beyond me now. This is not me.
Yeah.
These
So you recognized that?
I recognized it. I said, this is not me. It's not working for me.
Right.
And they said, but this is the best medication in the industry. There is no way that you could be going through that. It doesn't make. And I told them,
And you
look,
stood up for yourself. I think
Yes.
that's important to note
Yeah.
because you are the patient, you're the one that's being treated, and you made decisions to tell and speak up about what you're not feeling to be the right path. But how difficult is it to parent when you have a mental illness?
it is the most difficult thing ever because your children now, the roles reverse.
Yes.
They are more concerned about you. They are
Yes.
mothering you. And that takes you further down. Because here you are, a strong woman, all of a sudden it's, Mommy, are you okay? Mommy, are you not going to go to the hospital again? There was a time when I had a breakdown that I didn't even recognize them. When they came to visit me, I was in my own world. I couldn't even recognize my own children. And that is the most painful thing.
Was there a history in the family?
No, not at all. Not at all, nothing at all. I would say my mom had depression, but nobody knew about it. You must remember.
Because you do write about
Yes.
the fact that she would drink.
She would drink to numb the pain.
Yes.
But nobody really paid attention to that. It's a snap out of its situation, get over its situation. But when you are there, you finally understand, I think I understand what she was going through.
Right.
And you're between a rock and a hard place. And you don't care about anything else. It's a battle now. Do you want to continue? Do you want to stay? Is your resilience strong? And is your willpower strong? And here's this medication that they're busy pumping you with that is not really coming to the party. And when you tell them, like with me, they told me I've got delusions of grandeur. When I told them I'm an author, I've been in the media, and the delusions of grandeur, that's when everything came. And I said, you know, I am an author. I am a public speaker.
Right. So how are you coping now? How are you managing? Are you on treatment, or have you found another path?
I have embraced who I am as a spiritual healer.
Yes.
Stylish as I lost my hair, don't worry, somewhere. But I've embraced my spirituality. You must also understand that when an illness is part of your spiritual journey, no medical condition, no medical intervention can ever try to fix that until your spirit makes peace with what that illness is designed to inspire. So that is another part where I'm concerned. But also, I'm not ignoring the fact that I've lost a lot of people in my life.
Yeah.
I have been through grief, and I'm struggling with it, and I'm still struggling with my dad's passing to date. So they put me on different medication. The first one was Risperdal and Epilim, and you become your typical and you're drooling all over the place. And I said, this is not working for me, guys. This is just not working. Let's try something else.
No, I think it's incredibly empowering to hear that you recognized your challenges, that you brought about the right interventions to sort this out, for you to have the kind of life that sees you sitting here today, that sees you carrying on and providing for your children. Yes. Thank you so much for sharing, because it's incredibly complicated with these two operating in parallel and alongside each other.
Yes.
And Tshepo, congratulations on the book. Yes. Thank you for being here. 21 Days of Hell is how it's titled. Well, let's take a quick break, and please do feel free to call us. We'll be answering your questions throughout the show, and if there's a comment that you'd like to make, we'll see you after this. Welcome back to Real Talk. Well, depression is a highly prevalent psychiatric condition associated with significant personal, social, and occupational dysfunction. And it's often characterized by a persistent feeling of sadness, lack of energy, anxiety. There's a shift in appetite, as well as sleep patterns. So joining me in studio now is Amandla Sibanyoni, whose depression was exacerbated by a pre-existing thyroid condition. Amandla, thank you so much for being here.
Hi.
Why was that a nervous hi?
It is. Speaking about losing yourself is very difficult. It's very hard.
Is that how you would describe it?
Losing yourself.
Yeah.
The idea you had of yourself, and then it comes crumbling down, and you're like, wait, but that is me. So that is the thing for me that has been the difficulty, the realizing that it's okay to start again, and now I can build a better me.
Yes.
Because now I know what I need. Before you just think what society wants you to feel. You place importance
on what other people expect and want from you.
Yes, and what's seen as perfect and good. Independent, working, I got this, you know? And when all of that goes,
it's gone.
like how am I going to say I'm doing well?
Yes. And there's that pressure, we're socialized to always be in a position where we can say we're doing well.
Yeah.
But what was happening in your childhood? Do you find, or when you look back, do you think, and you reflect on that time, what are some of the things that were going on in your childhood?
For me, I think when I was younger, now we only know it's panic attacks, but we thought it was asthma. So my GP also at the time said, no, it's asthma. I was on the pump. Literally, I was on asthma medication. I didn't do sports. And once I had a panic attack and I landed up at Para. And the doctor's like, she doesn't have asthma.
Wow.
So that's when they were like, maybe take her to a child psychologist and see what the issue is. So from there, I was taken to a child psychologist at school, primary school. I went every week. They had a clinical psychologist who worked there. So every week I'd see that person. So also I can never say it was one thing that happened that led to that.
So does that particular episode, did that lead to an understanding that you have an anxiety disorder?
No.
Not even yet?
Not that, because I was still a child. And that's the thing also, our parents sometimes aren't equipped to handle all of that.
Yes.
My mom's a single parent. She's leaving early in the morning, coming back late at night. You know, she wants you to go to a good school. So she's working overtime. She doesn't have the time to sit with you and go, okay, what is wrong?
Yes, why are you in trouble at school? What's driving
What's
this poor
driving this?
behavior?
What's going on?
We always say it's naughty.
Yes,
We take out the
attitude,
belt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so it's something that I feel like parents should also understand that sometimes before you go to a reaction, sit down and say, okay, let's discuss what happened. What happened? Why is this going on? So you can find out what the child is feeling and saying. Because sometimes the feelings that we're doing is we're not saying the emotions. So when you're anxious or you're depressed or you're angry,
Yeah.
you lash out at things.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do well in school.
I'm going to talk back to
The
that
teacher, because,
Yeah.
you know, that's the thing that, you know, sometimes we use as a mask also for that. I am stronger. Because I feel inside, I feel like I'm weak, I'm broken.
Wow.
But my attitude,
Your outward
yes,
actions.
that's something I've always had. I've been seen as very confident. You know, when I don't like something, I'm going to say it. But it was because of I needed to show myself
To be
strength.
strong. Yeah.
Strength.
Right.
But it really wasn't true strength because I still had my insecurities. When I got home after work, I would shut myself off the world. I don't need to speak. I don't need to be with anybody because I would have so much energy taken from me interacting with people every day. It's literal a job
Wow.
because you're not interacting. It's not just me talking. In my mind, I am already playing out what I want you to think of me. So if I want you to think I'm intelligent, I'm going to speak really nicely. You know, do I want you to like me? Do I want you?
Your mind is working. Like
That's
you
the thing.
said, it's
It's
a lot of work. You're
all
exhausted by the
the
time you
time.
get home. But I want us to understand this and track it properly.
Yeah.
So there's this misdiagnosis. It's
Yeah.
not asthma. You only discovered that much later.
Yes.
So when did the depression episodes come about?
Depression, I was diagnosed depression in 2009 in Cape Town. But I had always knew I was like depression because I was very moods up and down. I was also very suicidal as a child. So suicidal thoughts. When I got angry, the first thing for me would kill myself. You know? So it's episodes that you have, but when you survive, you don't really go to your mom and say, hi, I just tried killing myself. You don't. So you keep quiet about it. Like most of probably my mom doesn't know all my suicide attempts. Because when it doesn't work, firstly, I have failed in killing myself. So why am I going to tell another person I failed?
Right.
Because I'm already beating myself up that, hi, you're still alive.
You're beating yourself up.
Yes.
That it was
You
an
failed.
unsuccessful attempt.
Yes, you failed. Like it's literally. So for me, I always had that in childhood, in like being a teenager. But Cape Town was the first time I got diagnosed by a doctor psychiatrist. It's like, they're like, you have depression, we need you on medication. I was like, no, I don't need medication. Medication is gonna make me a zombie. I won't be me.
Right.
You know? And then I left Cape Town, came back here. 2015 was the year that I feel like the heavens opened and everything just fell at the bottom, like literally.
Bottom fell out of your
lit-
world.
my world, my life, my understanding.
Do you know what triggered it?
For me, it was my thyroid. So, but my GP misdiagnosed, and my GP said it wasn't his problem because he also knew I had depression. So the symptoms of a thyroid condition mimic depression.
Right.
You can't sleep, insomnia. You have anxiety. You have heart palpitations. So this for me was normal. So that's why I was like, okay, it's probably depression.
Yeah.
And when we tried everything, because I was getting migraines, I could not wake up, I could not sleep.
Function.
So my doctor was just trying to help me with the pain. And also there was a point he was like, you know, I've given you every medication, I know. I've given you strengths, it's not working, maybe let's go now to a hospital.
So that was
Yes.
an involuntary admission or institutionalization?
No, but that one was to first see what is the problem. I only got, when I was in hospital, they took me off all the psych medication that he gave me because I did not know what day it was, what time it was, where I was. Reality and dreams were the same thing. So that's the mind again. And when I was in hospital for the first time, they took my blood test, I was taken off medication. A simple doctor, endocrine doctor came, looked at me and said, you have a thyroid condition.
Right.
I was like,
That's
wait,
a lot
wait,
to
wait.
deal with. Because it was the panic attacks.
Yes. And then it's depression,
and now the
suicide,
thyroid
and now
condition.
thyroid. And that's the
Is
thing
that where it
also.
ended?
No, it didn't end. And that's my thing also. When they said thyroid, I was like, oh, finally, we know what it is.
Exactly. Because
You
we
know.
need to know the why.
Yes.
The why.
Now
We're
there's a
desperate for
reason. Now, oh, no, it's not me. It's my body. My mind is fine. It's my body. But unfortunately, the thyroid plays a big part in your psyche because it gives you anxiety. It gives you panic attacks. It gives you depression.
Yeah.
So some people might not know they have a thyroid and only get diagnosed with a psychiatric issue. But if you're not treating the thyroid
yes,
with the
that will
psychiatry,
continue.
psychiatry is not going to work. Medication's not going to work.
Explain to me what it feels like to be under the wrap, because I imagine it to be this envelopment. Your mind, your body's enveloped.
Oh my goodness, it is the worst emotion, the worst feeling. If I could, I remember the time when I actually tried to commit suicide in 2015. It was literally, I kept on saying to psychiatrists, I feel like if I could, I would switch off a button and stop breathing. Breathing was hard. It was like, why am I here? You know, you think of everything, your family, your friends, but that's the thing also with suicide. Suicide is such a personal choice. Even if
No one could say anything, do anything.
nobody could do anything because it was an emotion, it was my thing. It was one of the choices that I made. I can't do this.
Yeah.
I can't. And that's when I was like, you know what? Thank you. I'm out.
Yeah.
God, yeah, we tried.
So you just don't have any desire to go through the day, to go through anything.
Nothing. I could not, I don't, when I was depression, you can't wake up to go to the toilet. It's hard. You like, eating, you don't eat. I would sleep, not even sleep, but be in your bed just comatose in the emotion. So that for me is, you can't explain it because also I can't say, if you're doing this, this is how you get out of it. No,
Right.
it's such a personal emotion of what you're going through and your own anxiety about how you see everything.
Right.
So
Amandla,
that
there's
is my
still so
thing.
much to talk about. You're staying with us. We're keeping you on that couch. But do remember that you can give us a call because depression is deeply misunderstood in South Africa, especially amongst the Black community. According to studies conducted by the South African Depression and Anxiety Group, GPs fail to detect between 33 and 50% of depressive disorders in patients. So join us after the break as we delve more into the subject and we get to unpack some of the reasons why depression is still a taboo in most communities. Welcome back to Real Talk here on SABC 3. The stage is yours. Well, before the break, we were getting to grips with Amandla Sibanyone's story and journey in understanding and dealing with depression, and she stays with us here on the couch. So, Amandla, that was quite a detailed expression of what was going on with you. So the condition that you have is...
I have Graves' disease for my thyroid.
Yeah.
That's made everything, my psychiatric issues even worse.
Okay, and then
So,
there's the anxiety disorder.
Yeah, I was only finally diagnosed properly when I was in Sterkfontein.
Okay.
I was there for 6 weeks involuntarily, which means my family had to sign me in. My sister had to sign me in because there's nothing else that Dr. Jane could do. It was, if she stays here, we cannot take care of her because nobody can look after her because I was very suicidal. I was still attempting while admitted in hospital.
Yeah.
Because I was so angry.
Yeah.
And
Where's that rage coming from?
it's rage with oneself. It's the rage with oneself, and it's also the rage against. There was a point I was angry at God. There was a point I was like, you know what? You say, you know, God always says, I won't give you more than you can carry, or I will never leave you.
Yes.
I'm always with you.
Yes.
And you feel like the weight of the world is there, and there's nobody else. For me, I have amazing family. My sister, my mom, and my friends, my close friends, who literally were everything. But I could not see that for me, I could not see, I felt like alone.
Yeah.
Like there was nobody else who understood what I was feeling.
Did you ever try and reach out to other people, perhaps, that you were aware of? You didn't know a single person?
Not somebody who had depression. It wasn't that.
So how did it affect your relationships?
Wow. I don't, like, even now, I still have social anxiety. So I don't go out a lot. And so most of my friendships, I don't have connections because of that. And that's, for me, is the hardest part.
Why does it make you want to cry?
Because people have supported me so much.
Yeah.
And I can't give back to that. You know, it's understanding when your friends leave their lives and what's going on to look after you, and then you are still not fine. Because that's my thing. I'm still struggling. So I don't like being around people because I'm like, I'm going to bring you down because I go up and down.
Right.
So I pull back because I don't feel it's fair
On them.
on them that you have to worry about me.
Right.
You know, even with my mom and my sister. Sometimes when I don't call them, they always call me, "Are you okay?" And I hate that.
To be this person that they worry about this much.
I hate that because I feel like it's a weakness.
Let's get you some water and a tissue. Let's get some water on set and let's get tissues for Amandla.
Yeah, so for me, that's the difficult part of depression. It's losing the power of yourself and of your mind.
I just get goosebumps with that statement.
Like, I don't, like, this is
Thank you,
thing,
Tshepo.
it's still not,
Yeah.
when you don't trust your mind, it's the worst feeling ever. Because you're never certain about anything. Anything.
And there's something so incredibly powerful with that because you're watching the words you used. Thank you so much, Tabang.
Thank you.
The words that you used earlier was having your world have its bottom just fall out. So the world around you, you're not in control of that. And now the one thing
Your mind.
that we often feel like we have control over, you know, is now the thing under threat.
That is my biggest thing of, I've always known I am able to do. If I put something, I said something, I will achieve it. Right now, I don't have that trust in my own self.
Okay.
So how can I expect interactions, you know, to go smoothly when I cannot trust what my body and what I'm doing,
Right.
what I'm thinking. I'm thinking 55 million things that aren't there in reality. You know,
So how do you calm that? Do you have the tools now to gain that control, to reel it in?
Literally, I say yes and no, because I struggle still every day. I struggle with depression still. I'm on medication. I have a great support.
Do you work?
Yes. And luckily now I understand I'm not working for money, I'm working for my environment. So I work in an amazing environment, amazing two ladies, Mariana and Bonnie, who understand and allow me to be up and down me and allow me to sometimes have a little panic mode, but also, you know,
They
support
catch you wherever they can.
Yes.
Because at the same time, you have to catch yourself.
Yes.
You have to be the one who catches
Yes.
yourself before you hit the ground.
So for me right now, my environment is more important than anything, than money, than, you know, how I feel on a daily basis is important.
Yes.
So that's how I judge everything. If I don't feel like I'm going to be happy there, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
You know, there are
Making
days.
the wise decisions for yourself.
But also social anxiety is, for me, my biggest hurdle right now, because I don't have social connections.
Right.
I am only like in groups or over group chats for my little K-pop group, like my little family that I've created because of BTS and our army. That's the people that I usually speak to because they've gone through something similar.
Right. I think you've connected and touched a lot of people with sharing your experience tonight.
I really do hope that it's not a bad thing to have
Talk
depression.
about it.
Yes.
Talk.
It's not, it's the stigma of what people see as crazy. You're not crazy. You're not. It's just your emotions and regulating it.
Right.
That's it.
Amandla, thank you.
Thank you for
very
this
much.
opportunity.
Oh, coming over there to give you a hug. You know what? It's a very frightening fact that around 20% of all South Africans will experience a depressive disorder at least once during their lifetime. And the incidence of suicide has actually risen to 23 a day. And this is due to depression. And that's the reason why it is so crucial, so crucial that we engage in this conversation and educate ourselves more on this prevailing illness. Well, coming up after the break, we'll be speaking to health activist Tshepo, who's here also to shed some light on depression. Welcome back to Real Talk on SABC 3. The stage is yours. After suffering from post-traumatic stress and undergoing treatment for depression, my next guest was inspired to start Next Chapter, a program that addresses mental health issues amongst the youth. So let's welcome Tshepo to Real Talk. Tshepo, thank you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
We can't ignore the ribbon.
Okay,
What is it about?
Of course.
Educate us.
The Green Ribbon, I led now a Green Ribbon campaign. The Green Ribbon symbolizes a fight for depression. You know, we have the red ribbon for HIV and AIDS. We have the blue ribbons, pinks, cancer, and all that. So this is the ribbon that I wear every day. It reminds me that now we are still in a fight, and it creates curiosity. People want to know now, what's this ribbon for?
Great conversation.
And I get to say, yes, let's talk about mental health.
Yeah.
That's how we get to destigmatize. I listened to some of the panelists here who said we need to talk, but how do we create a conversation? This is how I start my conversation.
That's perfect.
Yes.
Because even as Amandla was saying,
Yes.
talking is important instead of bottling it all in. But your journey started with the Fees Must Fall.
The fees must fall.
You
Yes.
were a leader. You were out there agitating for change in the country. So what precipitated your depression?
The problem now becomes our society, the society that doesn't want change. And now you go full force emotionally invested in bringing about change, and the circumstances where you are, or rather where you want to bring about change, don't allow you, or rather don't allow that change. But before my PTSD, I've been a person who's having, I'll be that guy who's on and off.
Okay.
I've been having my own psychological problems. Even at home, they didn't know how I got to see a psychologist when I got to the university. We were engaging in a conversation in a class, and the lecturer says, please, after this class, can you please go see the psychologist that GovSees? And at that time, I was like, okay, what is it that I might have said?
Yes.
But now, she's a psychologist, and she said, you're not okay. So now Fees Must Fall comes, something happened, and I was leading a resident called Solopile at the University of the Free State. Police are raiding the residence, and now I need to protect my students. At the time, I was the prime. I need to protect my students, and there were close to 17 police officials and security who came to my room saying that now you are the one who is instigating all this. So it was just too much for me. They are first years. When the parents left, they said, we are leaving our first years in your care. Yeah. So I'm like, how am I handling it? Note, I'm still a student. I'm not a professional, but that's how everything started.
And yet you've taken on this load.
That I took double the shot more than any other person. But even, in politics, they say, you wanted to be in position, so deal with it. Deal with it, yes.
Right. So you were willing to speak up?
Yes.
Because a lot of people, especially men, because we think of, in our society, we think men don't want to talk about their health problems, they don't want to talk about mental health.
Yes.
So what led to that? What gave you the confidence to be able to engage and be upfront about what you were troubled by?
Same year, I had to drop out of school because PTSD, and my psychologist said, academics, let's put everything aside. Let's focus on you, your well-being. And I would like to say it was a tough journey. Leaving my home, I was an A student. I came to the university. People are like, I want my child to be like you. You came with 5 distinctions at the university. I want to finish this degree. My health doesn't want me to finish this degree. What do I choose? Yeah. Do I choose to push the mandate of the community? That's why most male guys rather don't talk, don't want, because they're like, I need to be the head of the family. I need to be a mentor. I need to be, I need to inspire people. So it's difficult.
Because that's often what leads to negative or bad behavior. We want to numb these things that we're feeling.
But sometimes it helps, because there was a point in my life when I was told that now I'm emotionally demanding and I'm too much of a friend, for a friend, you understand? So that disturbed me, and I said to myself, okay, Tshepo, you cannot be knocking into people's rooms to open a room for you to talk about your emotional well-being. Why not start your own thing? Create your own small AA so that you engage with your people about mental health.
And how is that going?
That's the best thing.
This
is the best thing that has ever happened in my life. Starting Next Chapter, your story continues. It reminds me daily that now you're not alone. I always say be loyal to the call, because every time when you are going through something, every week we have a meeting, we engage. The last semester at the University of the Free State, we led a Green Ribbon campaign where we say from the staff to the student community, we are going to wrap the trees with a green cloth to symbolize the importance of mental health. So now, of course, there are people who are not going to receive it well, but there are people who are receiving it well. So
people who needed that
at this
lifeline.
time, we are having close to 186 people in a WhatsApp group. And you can post whatever that's affecting you. And from our own experience, we get to engage with you. Okay, we think this is what you can do. Because there's a stigma around senior psychologists. Now, in Black communities, it's not a racial issue. When you say, I'm depressed, I bought you clothes, you are eating, you have shelter. There's someone who's a street kid who's not depressed.
You have food, you have shelter.
More especially as a guy, okay, fine, you need to be okay. So now in this group, I'm able to say with my group of people, let's vent, guys, let's cry. After that, we're good. We're going to face our academics. That's how we get to survive this whole thing.
Surprise you?
Yes. Now, at first, I was not sure what I was doing.
Okay.
Now, the next chapter is in demand. Next chapter is in demand. I guess one of the reasons why I'm seated here is that next chapter is in demand. And like, I'm not a psychologist. We are not from, we don't have the psychological background of dealing with certain things.
Yeah.
But what we do, I need every time before a session to go, let's say, guys, we're going to talk about PTSD. Tshepo, go read about PTSD, lead the conversation.
So your own self-education.
Yes.
So the same people that were admiring you, looking up to you, going back into that community and now saying, I can't continue with my studies because of the psychological condition. How were you received?
My family, you're making me emotional right now. My family, I as a parent, when I told them, it was over a WhatsApp, a text, when I said, I'm not continuing with my studies because of my depression. And my mom said, even my aunts, everyone said, the problem is that you went there for leadership. And when I told them about everything, they were like, okay, fine, but promise that you're going to finish with your studies. Then I took a gap year. I was at the university. I didn't go home. I was still, because I paid my accommodation and everything. When people are going to classes, I'm busy doing my own things. So this was the time where I was doing the readings about how to start an organization and everything. I took that year, and of which someone can say, we have a bursary. A bursary says, dude, we are paying your academics, and you're taking a gap year. Our money went to well, you see, we wasted money on you. But I had to make them understand.
No, it's exactly what we were talking about with Amandla, preserving your mental wellness. But there's something to also be said about the university environment.
Yes.
We had Professor Bongani Mayosi, who suffered from depression and subsequently suicide. So quick one from you about unhealthy nature.
The university environments are toxic. The environments are toxic. You're a student from home, okay, as a learner from home. I want to be a doctor, I want to do this. When you get there, the setup is totally different. No one prepared you. Right. And the mistakes is people like you, for example, who are out there. When you go back there, you don't tell us of the realities of what is happening in our community. That when you get to university, there's a possibility of that you'll be in a residence that's not welcoming. Right. Then you have students who come here like, they leave their homes in the indoor. When you get to the university, you question your sexuality now. You get students who are like, okay, fine, the bursary is going to fund you. The bursary funds you for a month or two. Right. They say we don't have funds. So the environment is not really welcoming. It's not student friendly. That's why next chapter is trying to challenge. I'll be meeting with the rectorate of the university now and say, let's change the environment. How do we create an environment that is welcoming? Much more supportive
and conducive environment. Yes. Good luck with that.
No, thank you. And I would like to say once again.
It's much needed on our campuses.
Yes, before the end of this year, every campus must have next chapter. I know I'm putting pressure on myself, but every student needs to hear about the realities and the importance of mental health.
It's a noble objective, a noble mission. Wow, that was incredible. So do give us a call on the number that's listed below, because after the break, we'll be taking your questions as we connect with a clinical psychologist. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Real Talk. We almost come to the end of the show. And so joining me on the couch is clinical psychologist Kosi Gianni. The lines are open to you. Kosi, great to have you here. No stranger to the show, of course. We lean on your expert knowledge when it comes to topics such as this. But before we get there, we actually have a caller on the line. Cecilia, good evening. You join us from Rustenburg. Thank you for calling.
Good evening, Azania.
Yes, hi.
Yes. I just wanted to say, all right, thank you. I just wanted to say that depression is real. I've experienced that in my family. Unfortunately, I've lost my sister a month ago due to depression. And then I just wanted to say, it doesn't matter if you are black or white or your profession, if it strikes in. My sister was a professional psychologist, but she couldn't even overcome the depression. She ended up taking her own life. It hurts because of some of the people, they take it for granted, and then they take it as if a person is seeking for attention. I think it's high time to realize that depression it's something that is real and it's happening. Sometimes you can even question when a person takes her own life or his own life and ask about her professional, how can a person with such a professional take her own life? Depression is real, I think, believe you me.
Cecilia, are you getting any help? Are you seeing someone about your pain?
So far, no, I'm dealing it with on my own.
I'm going to ask that you please reach out. There's so many organizations. There are people like COSI, there are organizations like the South African Depression and Anxiety Group, SADAG. We'll share those details. Maybe if you stay on the line, we'll be able to give you those details personally so you don't have to wait one more second, so that you have a professional to help you with what's happened.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Cecilia. I know that wasn't easy. Kosi, how do you respond to that? Especially those that are left behind after a depression episode leads to suicide.
Yeah, it's, you know, it is so hard, and there's so many layers to this conversation.
Yeah.
You know, on the one hand, she's mentioning, you know, quite a number of people in her family. So there sounds like there is a familial predisposition.
Is it hereditary?
Yes, there's certainly a chemical component, so there is genetics involved, and especially when you see such a picture, you know, in the family. But also, you know, the sad thing is that it puts so much pressure on us as the professional community, because people depend on our expertise. You know, you sit here and people's expectations, and yet humbly we're also human.
Yes.
You know, and medication can only go so far, because medication cannot speak to us about the lived experience. And there is also a sense of helplessness with the medical community.
Wow.
You know, there's a sense of helplessness with psychiatry. It takes a while before the psychiatry can be sorted in terms of them understanding the chemical imbalance, what is the right combination of
As
dosage
we've
and so
heard
on.
with our
Exactly.
guests, it's been quite a
Yes.
process
Yeah.
in diagnosing and getting to a point
Absolutely.
where we can give you the right help.
Yeah, so it's quite a complicated picture, and we ask for the patience of our patients, for us to get to there, to be there, and to hold the hand and try to journey with you. But
Right.
it is not an easy journey as well.
You know, there was a lot of conversation, a lot of talking, especially around the time of Professor Mayosi's passing, and condolences still to his family.
Indeed.
And one of the things that I came across was that often with people who suffer from depression, and especially major depression that can lead to suicide, is that there's this thing called despair, not despair, but a despairing that happens, where there's a hopelessness, worthlessness, not feeling worthy, those kind of emotions, or even a purposelessness.
Yes.
So is that what is happening, and how do we reconnect?
Personhood, a complete erosion of personhood, and people also, what becomes difficult is that depression is kind of an exaggerated state of what people experience. All of us go through those states of disappointment, helplessness, worthlessness, I'm not good enough, I'm not loved enough, and so on. And because it comes and goes. You know, we kind of say, okay, I know what you're going through, so I know you can get through it.
You'll bounce back tomorrow.
Yeah, you'll be okay. And as people say, you know, the usual response when people don't know how to understand what you're going through is you'll be okay, or snap out of it.
Right.
You know, it's something that you can. And it's easier said than done. You know, clearly, it's a lot more complex, as they have attested to the depth of that helplessness and feelings of worthlessness. So again, you know, if we're talking about how to deal with it, it is not a single professional approach. There
Yes.
isn't, because
What else is involved then?
there is psychiatry. Certainly there's a part that medication plays, and everybody's medical regimen is unique to them, because no two people will respond in the same way to the same medication. What works for one person may not work for another person for a number of reasons. And there's a comorbidity of other conditions that have got to be taken into account. So you cannot take this because if you have a thyroid condition, for example, some medication will not work for you. But certainly psychotherapy is an important part of that process. And what psychotherapy, the difference between the two is, the medication takes care of symptoms. It'll help you sleep better. But people need to understand psychiatric medication takes at least 2 weeks before it kicks in. It's not something you can feel today, I'm feeling down, I'll take it tomorrow, I'll be okay. Because there needs to be a concentration in the blood, in the system, before it begins to work in a systematic. And you have to take it for the stipulated time. And people just stop stat. And it just destabilizes the system, which then affects the emotions and everything, and it just complicates the picture. And so what psychology does is that it helps you talk through the feeling.
How important is that?
Absolutely.
So I think the tendency or the temptation would be to try and suppress it, to shut it out, to wish it away.
Yeah.
And you're saying we have to tackle it head on, acknowledge that
Absolutely.
this is burdensome.
All it does, it just spirals into a darkness and, and a place of isolation. And people around you then feel a sense of needing to do something. They feel helpless. And they then overwhelm you with their care and support because people are concerned, because then there's suicidal ideation and isolation and so on. And then it becomes just a recurring decimal, which doesn't help. And therefore, it also helps for it to be a family intervention.
Yes.
So you're not the problem in the family that needs to be sorted out.
From what I understand, it's also important that family get their own counseling.
Absolutely.
From having a family member.
Absolutely,
with depression.
yes. Because we always say that that person is a symptom of the system, you know, so, and we also understand that it asks a lot to say families that cannot even afford to have that one person in treatment, then you say the whole family must be in treatment. And also, we know that the system, the government system, our hospitals and so on are so much overwhelmed that it requires long-term care, and yet we don't have the luxury of long-term care because the need so much exceeds the availability of resources for this. So it is quite an overwhelming.
Just a quick one. Are we seeing an increase? Because we are running out of time. Are we seeing an increase, and what is triggering?
It's both. We are seeing an increase, but we're also seeing an increase in awareness.
Okay.
That because it's out there, people are naming it differently. Whereas, for example, if we remember what she said about spirituality and so on, there's quite a complexity within the Black community, and that is why it complicates the diagnosis because of the spiritual element that doesn't fit well with the clinical picture of Western psychology and psychiatry.
It's due to awareness. We know about it and we're talking about it a lot more than we used to. Kosi, as always, you're that pillar that we lean on days like this. Well, I want to thank all of my guests once again for joining me this evening. It's been an absolutely moving moment and moving occasion to be able to have shared in their story as they've shed some light on depression. So if you're at home are suffering from depression or are living with someone who may be showing symptoms, please, please, please contact the South African Depression and Anxiety Group, and their number is listed on your screen right now. Join us again tomorrow evening, and we'll be tackling the subject of surviving the loss of a lover. From me and the Real Talk team, it's good night, take care, and God bless.
Real Talk is proudly sponsored by Huawei P20 Pro and MTN.
Each week for 10 weeks, we're giving away the latest Huawei P20 Pro and 10 gigabytes once-off MTN data to 10 amazing storytellers. All you have to do is share your special moments with us. Follow at Huawei ZA and at MTN ZA and tag us with hashtag Huawei P20 and hashtag Real Talk Moments. We want to see and hear your stories and create lasting connections across the country. Each week there's a different theme, so keep checking our social pages for details and you could be a winner.